Welcome, Meaningful Times with Friends, episode 36. It is here in the now. Merely Jason, the Nathan Nation, Spoolie D, and myself, Mean Dave, in stereo. This is some new technology that Spoolie D has found where he is able to double us up. This really feels like the Nathan Nation now. There's three of us. I'm missing my hair. My scalp started it, and I finished it. Man, this is just weird.
I'm just having some serious camera issues, and that's not helping. I'm hoping to get them resolved shortly, at least by the next segment. So bear with me.
First things fucking first, as always, we start off our show with making amends. Starts with an apology or two if we have them. So we like to open it up. Sometimes, we're not right away ready to make an amends. You don't have the will to do it, or you don't want to go right out there until the window of opportunity opens itself. This is always our window of opportunity every episode for sorries. Is anyone sorry this week? No? Jason, no apologies this week? I mean, you had one last time.
I don't know, maybe, but no.
Maybe, but no. I like that. Real solid ground. Spoolie D, any sorries, any apologies?
I regret not being clear about my feelings on Drab Majesty. I feel like I held back a little bit and deprived you guys in the audience of what I really thought, and I think that's just me being afraid of my emotions. I'm going to work on that, Dave.
I'm not asking you to, just to make that perfectly clear.
Part of my empathy exercise is trying to put myself in your shoes, and I feel like right now I've done that. Or put you in my shoes, I think. I don't know.
You wear shoes. You don't allow shoes in your house, last I recall. Well, that being said, let's move it along. Next topic. This is kind of like a part two. Three of us like to regularly attend as much as possible God Waffle Noise Pancakes, a wonderful ritual started by a being named Grux. This being has been a staple in local music and noise and all things kind of anti whatever, and this regular noise thing that we attend on the way, again, the chat kind of blew up a little bit out of nowhere, mainly because something was suggested, a memory was brought up casually that then caused me, as usual, to see red and go fucking ham. And that was the Nathan Nation, oddly enough, where out of nowhere he asked us, hey, any of you ever been in a fight? He proceeded to expand on the thought, and he goes, I'm not talking about the time when Dave got his ass whooped by Pat. Pat was a roommate at the time of a house that we don't need to get into, a house I used to live in, and Pat was one of the roommates after the fact, and Pat was a guy that I had some interactions with that were fairly positive until they weren't, and it all revolved around my addiction and all bad addiction things. He warned me multiple times. I did not heed his warnings, and Pat was a guy who was full-grown man size. I am still of the junior high man size, even at my full manist, even with some extra poundage and all that. I'm still very boyish. Pat proceeded to unload on me. Nate wasn't there for this. Nate only heard about this, and so I took offense at the fact that Nate dragging this in there to clarify his little fucking casual, anybody been in a fight point? And I'm not talking about the time that, Dave fucking couldn't fucking fight. I'm asking about, like, if anybody blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, motherfucker, all right? First off, we don't need to be bringing up old memories. By the way, Pat's dead. I didn't kill him. But I'm just letting you know, that's what happens to motherfuckers who lay a hand on me. All right, Nate? All right? They lay hands on Dave. They gone. And I understood what his point was. I was too busy seeing red to even engage in the conversation, but I was like, let's talk about this, because this was something that should have been brought up during the masculinity segment, because that's an aspect of what masculinity is, if you can handle yourself physically and all this bullshit. But Nathan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I brought up the Pat thing. It was just one instance out of all of us that I knew for sure involved fisticuffs.
Not fisticuffs, it was more fistic heads. And
just to be clear, I never lived in that house, so I wasn't a part of that crew over there, but I was friends with multiple people or related. So
what was the reason that you even asked about it that day? I forget.
I thought it would make for interesting stories. Oh, so some background. I dated a woman years ago, and on our first date, she, out of the blue, asked me, have you ever been arrested? And I was like, it's a fucking strange-ass question. No. And she was like, okay, I always ask that to people that I go on a first date with because it's either a serious red flag or has some interesting stories. So similar to that, I thought it would be kind of interesting to find out if any of you had ever actually been in a fight. I have not. I was listening to a podcast where a guy was talking about how he had been in a fight, and the other host was like, "You have been in a fight?" And so that's kind of what the nexus of my like whole thought process was on this. Like, do any of you remember a guy named Alan Puzio? He went to our high school briefly. He had long hair. He was into the Misfits. He gave people Misfits tattoos at our school.
I knew Alan, yeah.
Yeah, so I went with him one time. It was probably like 1992 to whichever record store was at the Hub at the time, whether it was Tower or Rainbow Records. I don't remember which. We went and bought a bunch of cassettes, and he was super into the Misfits, so I'm sure he picked up something from them. But like on the way home, we took the bus because we were 17, and these two fucking guys came up to us, like these cholo fucking gang member fucking wannabe dudes who were probably our age. And I had one of those 1990s, 80s yellow Sony Walkman that were like the sport one. It was like my prized possession at the time. And so these two dudes picked us out as marks, as like being weak ass little fucking bitches who they could come up to. The dude was like, "Give me your Walkman." And I was like scared as fuck. But I was like, "No." And like the dude kept threatening me. And I continued to fucking just say no. And I was like willing to take a beating to fucking not give up my Walkman, which was my favorite thing at the time. And the guy eventually got so frustrated, and his friend kept making fun of him because he wouldn't actually beat me up, that they just fucking left. And that was like my one brush with actually almost getting my ass kicked. So that's the closest in my life that I've ever been to a fight. And, you know, sometimes those stories are interesting. That's pretty boring. Open it up to you guys. Share.
The guy who fought the most out of all of us was most likely Spoolie, but Jason might surprise us. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, Nathan, are you familiar with the Mucky Pup song, The Skinhead Broke My Walkman?
No.
Highly recommend it. It's a good tune. Yeah, no, I've been in a lot of fights. It's mostly a function of the fact that when I was younger, I didn't really have a filter. If I saw something that I thought was interesting about somebody, it was typically the thing they were most insecure about. And because I was a horrible person, as most adolescent boys are, I would repeat it over and over and over again until violence ensued. This is pretty much my pattern. Either people would stop talking to me or they would attack me. There was that. Plus, I attacked other people for sport. So yeah, I ended up being in a lot of fights. You know, I've been hit in the face several times, which I think is a character building. There's a person, I can't remember who to attribute this quote to, David. Everyone's got a plan until you get hit in the mouth. Can't remember who that is. I'll probably remember next segment. But it's true. It's a life-changing experience to get hit in the face, hit in the chin, got hit with a couple of uppercuts. Very unpleasant, but then now you know what it feels like. And it also is actually hard to hit somebody else in the face. Kind of a weird thing. Like I've been in a lot of fights before I started punching people in the face with just full-on throwing them to the ground and like submitting them or just kicking the crap out of them without hitting the face. But I remember there was a point, this kid was starting shit with me, and this kid said something to me, and I picked him up and I threw him on the ground. I kneeled on his shoulders, and then I raised my hand to hit him in the face. I just couldn't do it. And then everyone just starts calling me like, "Oh, you fucking pussy. Oh, what's the matter, you fucking pussy?" I'm like, dude, I just beat the shit out of this guy, and I'm not going to fucking go to jail and like hit his head against concrete. But they're like, "Yeah, you fucking pussy." This is like the psychology of an 8th grade boy. I believe they are the worst human beings on the planet. I certainly was in the running for the worst human being on the planet for a long time. But my mom was dating this Portuguese dude named Manny Lorenzo. I'm sure he's dead now, but if not, shout out Manny. He taught me this judo move, which is awesome. Like I can put anyone on the ground without them realizing it. I milked the shit out of that. That was my frag grenade in hand-to-hand combat, Dave. I was pretty successful a couple times. I definitely lost. And then there was a time where I was in Nathan's backyard for, I think, his graduation party. And I was fucking with Dave because, you know, the sun was out and Dave was there. And Dave got so pissed. I don't know how he did it, but he got me in a fucking headlock and I couldn't.
You attacked. Hang on. We've discussed this on the show before, and you lunged at me. You led the charge.
Let's be very clear about something. I don't remember what happened, but I'm 100% sure I started it.
It's not just that you started it. You issued a challenge of something about, I bet I can something, and I was not wanting to participate at all. We're in Nate's backyard. We're around his parents. We're around strangers. Nothing against Nate's family or anything else like that. And Nate doesn't come from trash, letting kids, drink or anything. they were responsibly letting teenagers drink. And we weren't shit-faced, but we had like a 1 or 2 beer buzz. You issued a challenge. I had no response or something to that degree, and you speared me. I was in my chair, and you just lunged right at me. You walked right into your own checkmate is what you did. You speared yourself into your own checkmate.
Yeah, like Johnny in The Karate Kid. The only way you can get hit by that stupid thing is to run right at it. But regardless, to your credit, once you had me in that position, you got me in a headlock and you would not let me out. I was just basically unable to do anything. I think I puked.
You were using every one of your Spoolie D tactics, which is you tried to talk your way out of it. You then tried to exploit my compassion. And then you were like trying to call my bluff, like, you know, I'm really gonna puke, Dave. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I will be covered in your puke with a tap out because you said you were gonna pass out and everything. I already knew you well enough to know that you would not stop.
Well, yeah, and if you let me out of that, I would have attacked you. So that was wise. I mean, Nathan's laughing because, you know, on a daily basis, he sees how I always appeal to Dave's compassion.
Was I off in some corner, like talking to my aunts and uncles or some shit? I have zero memory of this happening.
No, you were the center of the attention that day. It was your graduation, man. And I think it was later in the day. There were some people just sort of like, what are those boys over there doing? You know, they're boys will be boys, I guess. We were kind of like laughing, but not. It was one of those things that Spoolie would do because I was attacked by Spoolie probably freshman year when we were still at the junior high. I was over at Spoolie's house, and out of nowhere, Spoolie with 2 Nerf balls or whatever the hell you had.
If you must know, they were like stuffed leather balls. David Robinson, aka the Admiral, was the #1 pick of the San Antonio Spurs. I had this weird like Nerf set, but it was more like a stuffed ball, and so I just tackled Dave on my couch and was trying to hit him.
No, you didn't tackle him. You had 2 of them unprovoked. You just kept hammering me with these balls and just would not stop peppering me with them, and I was pretty much powerless over it. And
sounds like prom night. Am I right, guys?
So yeah, that's just where I knew where your relentlessness came from.
I'll give you 3 quick examples because I just kind of rambled with probably unusable content. This dude, a Vietnam Mexican, I called him that every single day.
Just for clarity's sake, can you give us the etymology or the reason why someone would be called a Vietnam Mexican?
Because he decided one day, like he was like bookish, like he fucking wore buttoned up shirts with collars. And then just, I don't know if it was after spring break or something, but homie showed up with a fucking just full on Raiders gear and just started walking around the school with like all the Mexican kids. And I was just not fucking having it. I was like, no, you can't do that. You cannot just become fucking hard like after that. So I felt it was my duty to administer justice. So I'd call him around like, what's up, man? What's up? You're a Vietnam Mexican.
Oh, God.
It was deserved.
I know who he's talking about, and that's pretty fucking hilarious if you know the background. Yeah.
We've even touched upon him before in earlier episodes. Early in the Meaningful Archives, he came up, I remember. And now a montage of Spoolie D's school taunting.
Again, totally my fault. And this is not my proudest work. And every day I go, hi me, ho. Hi me is the fattest guy I know. And every day.
Straight up bully shit. That's fucking crazy.
Absolutely. Dude's twice my size.
He punched up. He would punch up with his
there you go. And finally he fucking snaps, right? Because day after day it kind of gets a little old. And then, so he fucking takes off, like chasing me, right? I'm like, fuck this. The compliment to my smart mouth is fast feet. I just stopped short and stick my leg out. 50 pounds as a kid. And he just went right barreling over my foot and just ate shit on me. There was this guy named Mike Myhoover.
Yeah, Mike Hoover.
Walk around and talk and say like, "Ew, it's Mike Hoover." Now, big white dude.
Hey, do me a favor, just do that again.
Mike Hoover. Yes. I had this Time Life set of evolution, and one was the missing link. So one day I found a book about you, and he set out to go fucking kick my ass, and then he tripped over this like planter box and fucking ate shit, and then that was the end of that. Guy Ryan, I can't remember what his name was, but he had like the classic like curly mullet, but it's like it was framed exactly like the Great Bard. I just kept calling him Shakespeare, you know. I said, hey, like I like your picture on the wall, and then tears streaming down his face, he started taking wild swings at me, punching me in the chest, and I was like crying, laughing while this guy was like losing his shit. It was this like little stoop we used to sit on, and it was right by this bathroom. And this bathroom didn't have a door. So this kid, Larry, I don't remember what his fucking last name was. He was in there taking a shit. So all of us kept calling him Shit Boy, right? And so in Metal Shop, he finally fucking lost. He swung a giant piece of sheet metal at me.
I was going to ask if you still had the scar.
Yeah, you can kind of see that scar. See the outline of it on my
You
knuckle?
can't really. It just looks like a finger. Oh, yeah, it came in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I could tell these stories forever because...
Yeah, no kidding. So, yes, Spooley's familiar with fighting.
Yeah, I wonder how many adult men aged 47 to 50 are in, like, therapy. Some guy's just crying on a fucking couch at his therapist, like, I'm not Shakespeare, man, I'm not.
To Spooley's credit, all of his bullying was done for the sake of the laugh, humorous taunting. Not to say like it was right.
Well, that's like the junior high experience in a nutshell. Just being cruel for cruel's sake.
There's cruelty that I feel a lot of it, is literally just like a power dynamic of just trying to feel better by fucking with somebody physically. We all experience at one point or another the shoulder bump. You could tell who had a bully crush on you by just somebody bumping your shoulder really hard in the hallway. I had the weirdest like attempted bullies mainly in junior high of people that were either younger than me or smaller than me, very Spoolie D-esque, that were not intimidating. Most of my bullies were completely manageable. The only one that wasn't, who was kind of bigger than me, was a well-known one that we've all been familiar with, was Levon Creech, who was named Willis, as we learned. The most whitest dude with black names. I don't know where Levon came from, but handing it off to merely Jason, because one of the times that I do know that Jason was provoked, kind of like, hey, you want some, come get some. Because I knew Jason would be willing to fight if provoked, was because of Levon. Jason was bigger than Levon, but Jason was not a particularly violent person. And on the way to school, Levon tried to pull the shoulder bump on us, and Jason responded like, look, you want to fucking get this over with? Let's fucking go. And Levon didn't, because he's a bitch.
Well, I knew Levon from elementary school. He wasn't an unknown quantity for me. Fighting for me has always been either stupid and silly or regrettable for the most part. There's not a lot of comedy involved in my fight experiences. There's some domestic violence involved in some of my fight experiences. It's interesting bringing up the weirdness of hitting people in the face, because the first 2 times I ever punched somebody in the face, it was in elementary school, and it was really like the Rubicon had been crossed, It was like, oh, you just punched him in the face. Like, that was like fucking serious. Like, damn, kind of shit. In both cases, punching in the face ended the fight immediately. Like, it was just like the other person was so dumbfounded that I actually fucking hauled off and swung at their face that the fights immediately stopped in both cases. One of them, the kid really deserved it. The other one, looking back, like, I feel kind of bad about it, because it was just mostly, I think, a case of like the kid was just a really maladjusted weirdo who didn't know how to be normal friends with people. And so I kind of regret the second one. Mike Sills was the only other person there. It was like a field trip, but like a local field trip. So we were like walking for some reason on the sidewalk in front of the school. And we've gotten separated, like we were farther back from everybody else. So there wasn't like a big audience for it or anything. And I just like punched the kid in the face, and he just stopped and like stared at me like dumbfounded. And Mike Sills was just like, yeah, he was totally stoked and everything. And it was like, I immediately just felt guilty, for having done it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like fighting it's not really my nature. Like, I'll do it if I have to, I guess. And then like most of this shit between.
That's a huge bitch.
Bully D and you.
Oh, excuse me. God damn it. So most of the fights between Spoolie and myself, like, we got in trouble at school, for it and shit like that. It was just, we were just fooling around, we weren't like angry at each other or anything. We were just like being stupid. I remember we got detention, or at one point we got hauled off to the office anyway. It was like a Star Trek fight, like I left my hands above my head and brought it down on top of Spoolie's head. And at that moment is when the teacher fucking walked out and saw what we were doing. We were just fucking around. We weren't, like fighting like out of anger or anything. Later in life, unfortunately, like there was alcohol and, like I said, some like domestic incidents involved. And I'd rather not really talk about those too much. Although I will say I did break my hand once punching somebody really, really hard to defend myself.
Holy shit.
My hand, I looked at my hand and I was like, oh, I think I hurt myself, because my hand was just like slowly inflating. It was kind of crazy. But, in my defense, he had just picked me up and thrown me onto the street because he was mad that we had broken up and he saw me talking to somebody else.
God damn, that's fucking crazy.
So, I feel like that was kind of a justified act of violence on my part. Fighting's dumb, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know. Not a lot of good comes out of it. And then like these days, I think about the fact that, like people can die from that shit without, you can actually kill somebody without really meaning to, just because you're trying to be fucking tough. That worries me. So I'll defend myself, but I'm not going to go picking fights with people. That's for sure.
Amen to that. I've been in more physical altercations than I care to remember. That was sort of what irritated me, and when Nathan just kind of casually threw Pat in there. In that situation, it's kind of indicative of I do not like being picked on, bullied. I have an aversion to where, like, if somebody really does try to needle at me, I have a bad response of like, oh, really? Well, let's fucking escalate this. I don't handle those situations well. It's from insecurity, no doubt. And not like in a way where I'm like, I'm putting my foot down. It's very passive aggressive until it gets aggressive aggressive. Because I do think that fighting, I agree, it's stupid. It's just primitive. However, I've kind of provoked people in a similar way as Spoolie, but not intentionally, not realizing that I was irritating somebody, and then they would call me on it in their own way. There was a guy that I was friends with who was in my nerd classes, Jesse Courtney, and he's the epitome of like just kind of looking like your stereotypical nerd, but he was a friend of mine. And I sat behind him, and I remember I didn't even realize that I was picking on him. I was just kind of thinking that I was joking around until he just turned around. He gave me this slap across the top of my head, and I respected that. I'm like, whoa, I crossed the line. My bad, Jesse. Won't do it again. But that was because I had respect for him, and I didn't realize that I was provoking him in that way with my bullshit. I did have fights more in elementary school, and not because I was trying to. It would actually, most of my fights were with people that I was friends with. I remember one was with a particular guy. His name was Daniel. We went to school with him too. I was friends with him in elementary school. He's a cop now. I saw him at the reunion. I remember he's a cop, and he didn't pay the fee to get into the reunion. I remember hearing about that. I remember just we had this attempted fight with like people all around us. We were out in the field, so nobody would find us. I'm one of these people where I would tell you, go ahead, hit me in the face. I was not big on throwing my fists. I was more big on showing somebody that, oh, I can take your punches. I will let you inflict damage upon me. I believe I provoked Jason one time in an argument where I said, go ahead and hit me. It was a weird, self-loathing streak I had in me. The funny thing is I never called these kinds of things with Spoolie, because the thing about Spoolie that I could just tell from looking at him, Spoolie had a physique of someone who could handle himself. Always has. He's had his favorite R word strength in life, so I will consider him an honorary disability member just based on he's had a physique and he wants to use it. Spoolie has kind of this weird like combination of the intellect of an oddball outsider and a physique of someone who can handle themselves amidst all of the athletic jock types. It's like, if you got it, flaunt it. That's what Spoolie did. Me, I did not. And I knew that I was a skinny kid. I was a smaller kid. I knew that I would attract people that would want to just pick on that. But I also had sort of a mindset of like, fuck that. I think a lot of that just had to do with my relationship with my father. He was a kind of a bully at the time when I was younger. He still is kind of in a joking way now, but at the time when I was a kid, I did not like that. And I was willing to put myself through painful measures to prove that and prove that I could take pain, my little flex. But I did get in some altercations from junior high on further, but all of the altercations for the most part would always just be a standing up to, and rarely would involve physical exchanges. It was more just calling somebody's bluff. I do remember Alan. Alan had a physique similar to Spoolie. He could handle himself. And also another friend of mine, I don't know if he watches the show. I hope he does, but I want to give a shout out to my friend Raul Ibera. He was a dude that was a big guy. He had that whole like Will Sampson, the guy, the big Native American, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That was kind of his presence at Newark Memorial. Him and Alan were friends, and they actually looked like they could be brothers. And I became friends with Raul in Spanish class, and that dude was constantly fucked with just because he was a big dude, bigger than most in high school. He had no problem calling people's bluff. He actually one time thought I was messing with them. It was just because he was a sensitive dude. He was an artist. I say that with the utmost respect, because sensitive people are intelligent most of the time, just in the sense that if you're aware of your sensitivities and they tend to be creative and all that, that's a byproduct of intelligence. That's why most of them are in pain, because we hate this stupid fucking world. But fighting was always like the lowest common denominator of that. It is the tool of the primitive mind. It's no surprise that it's such a popular thing today with UFC and all that. That's why 90% of it is boring as fuck to watch, because it's just two men grappling in the missionary position, which says a lot. However, in the situation with Pat, when he attacked me, I knew what was going to happen. He used to live in a meth binge out in Golden Gate Park, so he was partially feral. He was like a grown construction level man who had a meth feralness to him. And when I provoked his boundary of territoriality, he came at me, and I knew that that was what was coming. I responded to him like an earthquake. I just ducked and covered. I dropped to the ground and I covered my head.
You have PTSD from the Jesse Courtney attack. You went right to cover the top of your head.
I'm like, he can't get at me. Like, he can kick me, he can punch my ribs in the side of my head or whatever. But I just dropped to the ground and I was yelling, "I'm sorry, Pat. I fucked up. My bad." And my favorite part of this whole thing, I mean, there's no joy in any of it, was hearing Nate's cousin going, "Could you keep it down, man? I don't want the neighbors to call the cops." And that kind of almost broke the spell of rage. And now a long-winded story with no punchline by Mean Dave. I got into a pretty bad altercation in a car full of people. I was friends with some people from my music world. I was just drinking and smoking weed one day. We all were at a party, and I was not trying to pick on him at all. I was just trying to offer some insight. Words of tough love to help. He just took it to be antagonization. He goes, "Dave, you need to shut the fuck up before I fucking hit you." An escalation I didn't expect. And I said, "Oh, really? Why don't you just go ahead and hit me?" And he did. I just let him repeatedly hit me in the head over and over again. I want to, because I'm being challenged by a friend of mine that I think I'm not that intimidated by, and I'm willing to show him that. And this is where, again, gets into my mind games, my psychological mind games, my Jake the Snake Roberts in my head. He hit me to the point of exhaustion. I was done. I was still talking shit to him. I don't remember exactly what I was saying. Found out later they were all on cocaine. I basically had wore him down to the point of where he was crying in the dumbest of ways. I felt like, yeah, that's right, you cry, bitch, I win. I'm the one with the lumps on my fucking head, but he's crying. And it wasn't over. I was like, let's see how stupid he really is. Because I got out of the car. I slammed the door on him midway as he was on his way out. He tried to get out again, and I slammed the door on him a second time. I knew there were going to be consequences from this. It was like, these are my licks. When he first hit me, I really didn't expect it. I thought he was in it. I was actually shocked, and my feelings were hurt. Now I'll let you get out. And then he got out, and I knew that him, and they basically both like teamed up on me in front of my house. I was actually laughing about it while they were doing it. But that's that pettiness in me that I know can get me into trouble. Yeah, they lit me up a little bit, and then I was like, all right, you're done. Section 8 house across the street that always would have incidents where they were looking at my parents' house like, oh, there's something going on over there today. That's rare. That one and the Pat incident were probably the two main physical altercations I've ever had. I've had more, but they just weren't significant. And I've talked about another time when, similar to what you did, Nate, standing up to people, strangers even, ones that I know could light me up. I remember talking about it at a DRI concert after High on Fi was playing. It was actually with the very same people that this fight occurred with in the car. I was defending my friend, but it was because they spilled my beer. I wasn't even really defending my friend. It was like, you just made me spill my $5 beer. No one's going to replace it, so I'm going to tell you that you don't belong here. I enjoy an opportunity to express direct bluntness to someone who clearly can't comprehend it. Physical shit, all that shit heals, but words hurt. That's the weapon of the woke, is words, man. It's feelings. You hurt somebody's feelings, makes them cry even after they fucking light you up in a car.
Jason also forgot to mention, one time we were waiting at Great America. He decided to attack me by launching himself ass first at me while I was sitting on the ground. And for a while, I started calling him Super Flying Butt Check Man.
The official term for that maneuver is called a buttock. It's an old wrinkle family technique.
Oh, shit.
Called the buttock.
Handed down from generation to generation. It's John Wrinkle.
Practitioners of wrinkle foo.
Generally, you want to say, when you do it, you got to say buttock. Like when you hit somebody, you hip check. Buttock. I was also thinking about the flying butt pliers, from Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
It was like that kind of inspiration happening there. But it was a flying buttock. But yeah, super flying butt check, man. It was just, like I said, we were just fucking around. We were just being silly.
I always feel like it's weird when it comes to people wanting to touch other people. That's the thing that I've never understood
Wait. Are you trying to say something like this was an early indicator of me like throwing my ass at people? Like,
you want to go?
It's the ultimate power bottom move.
You want to go? Is that what you're saying? No, no. The exchanges between two people that are having like a jovial exchange of fisticuffs, because that's that whole thing of like two guys who get into a fist fight and then they become friends afterwards. There's a weird thing with people wanting to just put their hands on somebody else. I've never related to that. If I'm mad at somebody, I want to go away. I don't want my hands anywhere near these motherfuckers. I'm more likely to hit inanimate objects than I am to put my hands on a person. The only time I want to put hands on my person is at the strip club, man. You know, fucking 50 Cent style.
you're not supposed to.
Yeah. Consent. What? I mean, even in a joking sense, I really don't like putting my hands on somebody.
For the record, Dave, every time I've seen Dave, both greeting and saying farewell for at least the last 2 years has started and ended with a hug.
I don't always give a hug to Nate or Jason. I do when I'm like, you need a hug, buddy.
The last time we saw you was at God Waffle. I think you were like, fuck you guys, and you split.
I was mad. Yeah, no, I was probably mad at something. Yeah.
You were mad about this conversation that I brought up while you were on the way out there.
And the last time actually I saw you was at the Genesis film.
That's right. That's true.
And I was irritated at the dipshit that got mad at me for being on my phone during the movie. I was texting with... That's a huge bitch! And I didn't want to be rude. I didn't tell her that I was in a movie. Before that, I was eating a stinky tuna sandwich and blueberries that I snuck into the Roxy. And 2 people down was this dude who was bragging earlier about delivering some shit to the band Crass or whatever. I don't know. And they were late, too. Like, they were, like, right before the movie started. They were sitting in the 2 seats to the left of me. I'm just sitting there kind of, like, just responding whenever I get the text. I was just doing that. But I was trying to keep the light away because I knew this was, like, little snooty patootie, we're here in church of film, you know, that kind of crowd. And we're watching a movie about a provocateur, Genesis, you know, a pillar of the art lord world. And I don't speak of just this art lord. I mean, art lords in general, the world of art lord. Genesis Peorage, by the way, not the band with Phil Collins.
Good distinction to make.
Yeah. But this person then wanted it to bother them because they turned to me and they were like, excuse me, can you put your phone away? It is distracting me from the film. And I'm like, well, you're looking to your right because the only way it would distract you is looking to your right. It's not stopping you. I didn't tell him this. I just looked at him and was like, that's all I did. And I put it away because it gave me a good excuse to not respond. I wasn't pissed. I was just sort of like the stupidity of this. I'm like, I'm watching a movie about somebody who is this, you know, punk underworld provocateur. And yes, I understand that it's important. This is a gripe I could understand in 2008 when phones were new and people were like, you know, have some respect for the film or whatever.
I think it's still pretty relevant. I don't know.
No, I go to movies all the fucking time. You don't go to shit for movies, Nathan. You know this, all right? You barely go to the fucking theater. I am out there in the streets, all right, every fucking day.
God.
Letting these movies know I am here for film. In left and right, kids, parents, fucking everybody, old people, young people, all of them on their goddamn phones.
And they're all assholes. I think that the thing that you're not realizing is that just
shut up about that. No, nobody.
Doesn't mean it's cool. It still sucks. No. You have this like thing where you think that it's okay now, but it's not okay now. It never was.
No,
okay.
It's not. It
will not be okay. Either. It's wrong to put your fucking phone away. You're in a fucking movie theater, or get the fuck out. No. You're not trying to watch a movie. Get out. That's what you're there for, fucker.
No, I was doing my best to be polite about it, and it didn't bother you. Look at how mad
somebody for taking exception to rude.
I wasn't mad. I was laughing at how stupid.
I think you were mad. I don't know.
If I was mad, I would have provoked the situation further. What I did was laugh at how stupid it was. Case in point, all right, your precious Genesis Peorage did a show, The Provocateur, Genesis Peorage. Was performing with oxygen in like visible tubes from her nose. This was in the film. They showed a clip where someone's like, excuse me, someone in the audience is smoking a cigarette right now and needs to put it out, you know, stat or whatever. And I'm the only person in the movie theater who laughed at that shit. Not only because of the entendre of the temerity that I had to respond to anybody on my phone during such precious church of film that was being shared, But the fact that also some asshole paid money to go see Genesis Peorage, knowing full well that their health is in decline, and they're smoking a cigarette in that motherfucker. I had to laugh. That's an asshole move, Jason. I'm not harming anybody with my phone.
You're being irritating, and that's the.
No, I'm not. You're letting something irritate you. This is that Spoolie D kind of.
Oh, yes. It's everybody else's fault that
It is.
the dick
It
is
is.
bothering them.
This is a situation where you're choosing to be offended. Yes.
Whatever, dude. I'm just pointing out that you seem to think that everybody is okay with people being on phones in theaters when that is.
Go to a movie theater more often.
Yeah, and you know what? People are being rude in movie theaters all day.
They are.
Day. It doesn't mean it's okay now. It's not.
I know. It's rude times, man. I'm sorry. It's just rude times. Can't change everybody else. You can only change yourself. And that's why I'm glad I didn't give you a fucking hug goodbye that day, Jason.
There's a fucking elephant in the room that we're not talking about. So I didn't even fucking realize this. Where the fuck did your hair go?
Who gives a fuck, man? It's been starting to go away here, and I was like, two can play at that game. I'm taking it all away. So it's gone.
Do you think this is your final haircut?
No, I think my hair was just mad that I was texting in the fucking movie theater. I don't know. You know? It was just like, hey, this is fucking rude, Dave. We're out of here in the front, because I think we've covered a lot with topic one, and we now have to move on to the songs. So, oh boy, man, we're in a good mood now to talk about this fucking bullshit. We here at Meaningful Times with Friends, this is more than just a shell company. They're a shell sponsor of Meaningful Times with Friends, Chibson USA. Brought to you by CEO Jason USA. I am a proud employee of Chibson. We sell lots of products such as the Tone Mug. Thank you. Thank you for showing it. We have Tone Mugs. We have Chib Grips. We have mini jumbo handpicks. We have all kinds of wonderful products and great content. Go check out Chibson USA's YouTube channel. Follow them on Instagram and or TikTok. We have a lot of great stuff. More than 10 years in the making. What's going on with Chibson recently is releasing a movie, a documentary about a band called Dread Zeppelin. First Chibson, like, full-length documentary. Chibson did make another documentary regarding the copyright issues surrounding Mickey Mouse and Disney, and that's a good video that you can find. But the Dread Zeppelin documentary has 100 VHS cassettes that have recently been made that I got to personally be part of the shrink wrap process. I wrapped them, and then Jason used the heat gun to seal in the freshness. So, and I should probably sell the fucking video cassette back after this fucking bullshit over the goddamn movies, Jason. I swear. Anyways, this week, what we're doing is, I thought it would be a good idea to review a song by Dread Zeppelin. I believe we'll be doing the Immigrant song. I'll let Jason, if he's willing to, if he's not too mad at me about texting the movie theater and not letting it go.
I had no idea that any of that was happening at the time, to be fair.
But I didn't realize what I was provoking in the world of the Roxy Theater. I was paying attention to the movie too, by the way. But yes, Jason, you are the most familiar with Dread Zeppelin. So give us a little background on them.
Okay. So Dread Zeppelin, as the name may or may not imply to people if they aren't making the connection, they are a Led Zeppelin cover band, but they play the songs in the style of reggae, hence the dread. And as a sort of like curveball in the proceedings, the singer is an Elvis impersonator. So you get reggae-ish versions of Led Zeppelin songs in the voice of Elvis. It's kind of like a high concept, like novelty cover band. But the trick is they're actually good musicians, and they're good. They're fun. And the whole idea comes together surprisingly well. They came out in the early 90s, and they were around for quite a while. I heard of them because, I'd read about them in like the local weekly, music papers or whatever. And, they were just kind of like a silly thing, like this idea that they were funny. Like I was a fan of them before I heard them. Because they were just such a strange concept. And then when I heard them, I was surprised the concept was matched by the execution. So when somebody suggested we do a Led Zeppelin song, I said we should actually just do a Dread Zeppelin song instead, because I don't think any of us are really Led Zeppelin fans. I mean, some of us are actively hostile to Led Zeppelin, I know.
Apologies to my stepdad, Mark. He was the one who suggested a Led Zeppelin song, and I just got to say, I tried. Best I can do is Dread Zeppelin.
So, Immigrant Song, there's a good performance of it on YouTube. It's a quickie, so nobody had to make too much of a commitment to check it out. And I think it amply demonstrates what the band had to offer back then. And so I said, let's check out Immigrant Song. And then about 15 times of me reposting the link later, we all, I think, managed to actually check out Immigrant Song, which is pretty good.
Also, Jason and I, we had early screening at Jason's place of watching the Dred Zeppelin
I
documentary.
forgot to mention that. Yes, I will say that this documentary is an excellent documentary done well in the spirit of the band. Quite a fun watch and like really, really a great documentary full of performances and silliness and everybody in character. It's really nice. It's really, really nice.
It'll be on the Chibson USA YouTube channel, December 21st. These are the VHS cassettes. I did purchase one for Jason for Christmas, in spite of recent events. And there was even some debate over this at Chibson HQ. Apparently that'll be the new currency going forward.
Dave, I have a suggestion. I
What's
think
that?
you should go over to Jason's house to watch that when you give it to him and be on your phone the entire time. Just stare at him.
Make sure you turn all the lights down and you do this at night so it's extra distracting.
No, what's funny is Jason and I went over there to kind of carry on one of our movie traditions that started with David DePasquale. When Gary passed, I would make conscious efforts to go over to Jason's and be like, yeah, let's just go pick a movie and we'll watch it or whatever. And, you know, who knew if the entire time his blood was boiling and any time I might have been on my phone during any said films. I do believe I paid attention, though, to the brother and sister love relationship of, what was that movie again, Jason?
We Are the Flesh.
We Are the Flesh, yes. Incest at its finest, Art Lord style.
Yeah. Actual fucking in that movie.
Yeah. But Dred Zeppelin, not incestuous. Well, at least not as far as I know. I've actually met some of these guys, too. I've heard the name forever. This was one of those novelty bands that existed that I would see in Bay Area music magazine, BAM magazine. I mean, you'd see the name Dred Zeppelin and you kind of get it, I guess. I just thought they were like some kind of gimmick cover band of sorts. I didn't know the specifics of the gimmick. I don't hate Led Zeppelin. I actually do like Led Zeppelin for the most part. I got into them most when I saw a live video that I had to test when I was testing DVDs. So that was kind of when I got into a little bit of a Zeppelin phase. Immigrant Song is the song that I've heard forever. That's probably the most annoying song by Led Zeppelin. From some friends who've had sex during it, it's a good fucking song because it just has the driving force that really gets you going. And who knows, maybe that's the effect of immigration on America. Maybe that's what we're so threatened by in the Immigrant Song, is it just creates more immigrants. Who knows? But the specific song is kind of annoying by Led Zeppelin, and Dred Zeppelin makes it, in my opinion, more tolerable. It is silly, and when I saw the documentary and got my education, I was kind of amazed at how kind of thin a concept of a novelty it was. It felt like something that would be funny, like kind of as a one-off, a two-off, or whatever. These guys, it caught on. It was a phenomenon that was kind of an LA thing, and it grew. They toured and stuff, and when you see the documentary, there's things I don't even remember about them. Like one of them, I had a tie with Eddie Van Halen. He went to high school with them or something. In the actual execution, it's funny to a degree. And then I think, you know, growing up in our generation, you know, we saw a lot of things that were kind of similar to it. You know, bands like Guar, Mr. Bungle, a few others that had a lot of stage show kind of thing. You guys are fans of Skinny Puppy. They have a big elaborate stage show. This seemed like the most thrown together thing that they just kind of were like, you know, what do we have in our possession? Well, we got some Rasta wigs, some Elvis stuff. Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we wear the Rasta stuff? It just seems like one of those things that somebody just came up with an idea amongst friends and then they just kept going with it. And I don't know. It's silly. They seem to be having fun. People have fun. That's kind of the nature of it. I'm not looking to pick on it too much because, again, it's something I want people to encourage. I don't want to say I'm so much trying to promote it as much as I'm just trying to, you know, be a good Chibson employee. I am a team player in that regard. But if I was watching it in a movie theater, I'd use my phone. That's probably about all I got to say about it. Nathan Nation, thoughts on Dred Zeppelin?
I thought it was a fun concept, interesting song. It seems very fun. You know how much I love fun. This is something I was introduced to by my uncle when I was probably 14 or 15 years old. I read that they've been around since 89, so that totally tracks. It seems like music that would have been featured on the Dr. Demento show. Like, I feel like it's right in that wheelhouse. I get it. You're trying to do a nice kind of puff piece here because of your work thing, so I'm not going to be too hard on them. I got to be honest, though. I wouldn't say this is for me necessarily. There's like 3 gimmicks going on that are a weird confluence of things. I don't like Led Zeppelin's music, it's not for me. I don't hate them, but it's just not my thing. The Elvis impersonator part of this is the strangest thing of all. Especially like listening to it wouldn't strike me quite so odd, but watching them do it, he's like fat 1970s looking Elvis, so it makes it super funny. And yeah, I actually like reggae. So stuff that has like Rasta wigs and dudes in like big Rasta hats, and it's interesting to see that take on reggae because it's so silly. But overall, I'm not going to be a dick about it. It's fun. I get why you would make a documentary about this, and I get why my uncle liked it. It's funny, and they'd probably be a really cool band to see live because of all the weird elements they have.
Is your uncle still with us?
Yes, my Uncle Tom. He's my mom's brother, younger than her by 10 years, so he was like my cool uncle. Definitely of a different generation than my mom by having that many years apart from her.
Be sure to give him the heads up when the documentary's released. So
okay, he watches this, so hopefully he'll see this and see it directly. Yeah.
Member of the Meaningful Times family. Thank you for your service. All right, I've been gearing up for this, and we reserve the right to redact any and all Drab Majesty level hostility towards it. Let's unleash the beast. Spoolie D, what do you got?
It's interesting, right? Because I'd never heard of, well, I've heard of them, but I'd never bothered checking it out because I don't like Led Zeppelin. Again, they're just like boring blues rock. The only blues rock I really like is what's on Dave's chest right now. Like, that's how you fucking do blues rock. And it's kind of Elvis-y, if you think about it.
Wow, Danzig was Dred Zeppelin before Dred Zeppelin, when you think about it.
So it's like, that's pretty much the only way I can deal with, like, blues rock is with an Elvis voice. I don't like reggae at all. And I don't like Elvis.
What's your quote?
That's Jason's quote. It's my quote of Jason. It's something like, I like reggae, it's a good song. It's got on the Drab Majesty tip, right? It's just like, okay, yeah, we get it. So you got three things that I can't stand, and somehow alchemy took over because I turned this shit on. I had no idea. I thought it was going to be a Led Zeppelin cover band. I was just like, ugh. You know, like that fucking alien on Futurama, every time the captain talks and just goes, ugh. That's how I felt when I turned on. And I see this fucking Elvis impersonator and these dudes in costumes. Like, what the fuck is this? Now, I don't like Elvis. I fucking love Elvis impersonators. Like, fucking love it. I've been to an Elvis impersonator wedding in Las Vegas. It is one of my backup careers, is being an Elvis impersonator. I can do a pretty fucking mean Elvis. I can sing like Elvis. Everyone can do the voice. It's fucking easy.
Can you fight like Elvis?
Oh, yeah, totally. Absolutely. I told you guys on the show before, I saw a fucking dude in a full Elvis, like, white jumpsuit kung fu fighting some shopping carts outside of the Market Street Safeway. It was amazing. I love Elvis in person. So this shit was great. He starts with reggae. He's just fucking fully in character. He's doing the shake, rattle, and roll shit, but, like, kind of elderly, like almost like Neil Hamburger meets Elvis. Kind of Neil Hamburger, James Brown, and Elvis at the same time, because he's always got the guy bringing him fucking water, which is a beautiful shtick. I watched this 3 times, and then I went and looked for more because I liked it that much. It was just fucking funny, and it's so much better than actual Led Zeppelin. It's not even funny.
I'll give you that for sure.
Especially where he's doing that fucking primal scream. It's just so fucking funny. He's doing the Elvis pose at the same time, and then the guy breaks into some fucking Rasta rap. Holy shit. No, I can't say enough about the whole performance. And like, if you kind of like think about this, Dave, where I know you're nervous that I was going to trash this, but like, I love Danzig, which is like Elvis blues. I fucking love Guar, right? And I love Weird Al. If you really kind of put all that shit together, and I love Tyrone and his reggae band. So all of these elements came together, and I texted Jason. I'm like, this is fucking amazing. He's like, can I show Dave? I'm like, absolutely not.
I wasn't so much nervous of you, whether you like it or not. I care more about your freedom to be able to express. This is your forum. We're inviting Dred Zeppelin into our house here.
So, yeah, they're welcome anytime. I fucking loved it. I
knew that it wasn't Nate's thing, and I definitely knew it wasn't my thing per se, but it was more just so like, well, if he doesn't like it, we just experienced Drab Majesty.
It feels mean to dislike this, because this isn't bad. You know what I mean?
It would be bullying if you didn't like Dred Zeppelin.
Exactly.
I think even my 8th grade 14-year-old self would love this. It's just so fucking funny. Oh, I also love Bubba Hotep. So, yeah, it has everything.
It's funny. I do know that Danzig is a derivative of Led Zeppelin and Elvis combined, and then I'm like, oh wow, so Danzig and Dred Zeppelin are very much on par with each other, with just the exception of reggae thrown in there. Well, cool. Wow, see, so we ended up doing a puff piece. I didn't bring the puff. Me and Nate probably brought the hardest.
I brought the fucking knee pads and fucking filleted them.
Yeah, well,
brought the fluff piece.
Good. Dred Zeppelin could use it. But yeah, I met the guys. They seem like friendly guys when I met them. I didn't even recognize the guy who plays Tortelvis because apparently he's lost a lot of weight. And he's not like a huge guy or nothing, but he's, a little portly. And then one thing that I wouldn't say I enjoy it to where I check it out, but I've seen it live once and it's a little bit more extreme. And that is Extreme Elvis, who is a performer who was an Elvis impersonator. And I don't know the whole history of Extreme Elvis, but I did get to witness Extreme Elvis perform with the Extra Action Marching Band, which is the spin-off band of Crash Worship. That's some primitive pagan style performance of rituals, nudity dancing, and fire and wine and all this. They put on an amazing live show. And then they had to change and they started the Extra Action Marching Band, which has a similar thing with a less hedonistic approach. It's more silly. Extreme Elvis performed with them at the Eagle Tavern around the corner from Jason's place. Let's dox Jason. Show up with your phones. Text people. I'm just picturing like a whole carolers line outside of Jason's apartment building, just all texting.
I'm picturing an Elvis impersonator doing a cover of More Than Words.
But no, Extreme Elvis, I got to see them. They did a version of one of my favorite Black Sabbath song, The Wizard, with Extra Action Marching Band that was fucking incredible.
Sounds pretty sick.
Oh, it was dope. It was all horns with Extreme Elvis on the bar, like moving all around the bar of the Eagle, which was one of my favorite performances I've seen of a Black Sabbath cover. So yeah, I'm all about what Dred Zeppelin does in spirit.
I was in a cover band called Jeremy Spokane. It was a post-grunge cover band. So it's basically everything that Nirvana spawned except for Nirvana. And every time we did Big Me by the Foo Fighters, it just sounds better with an Elvis voice. So I did that as a full Elvis impersonation.
Well, I think we found that, everything goes better through the Elvis filter, except for Elvis, yes.
Yeah. Did you watch that documentary on Netflix?
Not yet. I got to get to that.
It answered the question why people are so into Elvis, even though he's basically like karaoke.
I did see the Baz Luhrmann Elvis movie, and I didn't text during that movie. It was a great film.
Fuck Elvis.
A lot of people did.
Especially Charo. That's how we got Elvis.
I support cinema on my phone and in person. Well, that being said, Meaningful Times with Friends, episode 36. Let's get the background here and get proper outro to this motherfucker. And today is just shit Wi-Fi day, man. I guess it ain't Wi-Fi day. It ain't Wi-Fi day. And Nate did not pick up on that joke or it froze. All right.
No, it's fine. Sometimes it's not White Boy Day, but it ain't Wi-Fi Day. I hear you.
Wi-Fi Day either. Exactly. So anyway,
it ain't Wi-Fi Day for real.
No more jive. All right, so that's our show, episode 36 in the can. Want to thank everybody for their patience, for their tolerance, for handling tense emotions accordingly without violence. It's important. Thank you, Jason. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You get on that phone, man. Text motherfuckers. All right, you can do that to me. I swear to God, you can be. You know what, Jason? You come to one of my comedy shows. You sit right in the fucking front and you on your goddamn phone, and I will let you. All right, so yeah, that's our show. Meaningful Times with Friends, Merely Jason, The Nathan Nation, Spoolie D. I've been Mean Dave. You guys have been a great audience because you watch these things. Hey, if you like other people and you think, help them join us, man. We've been going steady now 2 years next year. This is a show that's gone on longer than I ever expected it to. I mean, even at our most tense, I think we have a good time. And these are some of my best friends here from growing up who are still best friends today. And it is truly a blessing that we get to come together and have conversations that don't sound any different than when we were youngsters, except with a little less fighting, maybe a little less. But what was it?
Super flying butt check, man.
No, but what was the word?
Oh, buttercot.
Less buttercot.
Yeah,
so that's good. Want to use the proper terms.
Buttercot. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you. So thank you, audience. If you have friends that you think would like this, invite them in. Come join the spiel. So. Peace. Have a good week. Alright, how the fuck do I stop recording this motherfucker? God damn, where's the end button? Oh, there we go.